I don't really think that there's such thing as an NHL player that is bad at hockey. If you make it to the NHL, you obviously can play. That being said though, there definitely is such thing as a player just having a really bad year, and in today's video, we're going to talk about some of the worst seasons by an individual player throughout NHL history, and this is based purely off of results, goal totals, point totals, the numbers a goaltender puts up throughout a season. We aren't going to dive into advanced analytics or anything like that, because if we do, then technically Kaapo Kakko just had one of the worst seasons in NHL history. We're going to keep it simple for this video. Also, advanced analytics weren't around back in the 1940s. I mean, save percentage wasn't even around back then, and one of the seasons we're going to talk about in this video was actually from the 1940s. But before we go any further, be sure to go follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you guys want to talk hockey somewhere other than YouTube. Links to those will be down below in the description. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And with all that out of the way, let's take a look at 6 of the worst seasons by an individual player in NHL history. Starting off the video with the most recent example, Jimmy Howard and his 2019-20 season, so the most recent NHL season of course. Now, I'm sure I like Jimmy Howard more than 99% of you watching this video. I'm a Red Wings fan. He has obviously had a very solid career for the Red Wings, a multiple-time All-Star, multiple seasons putting up a .920 save percentage or above. His 246 wins are 3rd on the Red Wings all-time wins list by a goaltender. You guys get the point. Obviously a real solid career, but man was this past season tough to watch, and trust me, I watched every single game. Now granted, the Red Wings were a historically bad team in the 2019-20 season. Jimmy Howard did not have a lot of help whatsoever, but you have to look at Jonathan Bernier's numbers and the way he played and kind of compare the two. Jonathan Bernier had a great season. Every single night he played the best he could. In my opinion, he was the Red Wings MVP from this past season. Jimmy Howard, on the other hand, a lot of times when he was in net, he kind of just seemed disengaged and like he didn't really care, and I'm not sure if I blame him, but statistically, that season Howard just had is one of the worst by a goaltender in NHL history. A record of 2-23-2, which sounds even kind of crazy to say out loud, an .882 save percentage, and a 4.20 goals against average. Those are some awful numbers. It's crazy to think that the year before last he was pretty solid, and then the year before that he was actually an All-Star. And it sucks for Jimmy Howard because he was on a 1-year contract with the Red Wings this past season, so he's currently an unrestricted free agent. He said he has no plans on retiring just yet, but he won't be returning to the Red Wings, and of course I don't blame him for that. But at 36 years old, coming off of a season like he just had, I look around the NHL and I don't really know if there's a spot for him, or if there's a team that would be willing to give him an NHL job, even as like a backup. I really hope I'm wrong though. Again, I love Jimmy Howard, everything he's done for the Red Wings organization, and it would really suck to see his NHL career end on a season like that, but I feel like that might be what happens. Next up, we have Bill Mickelson and his 1974-75 season with the Washington Capitals. I apologize for the lack of high quality photos and interesting background stuff to look at while talking about him, but there wasn't really a lot to choose from for somebody who only played 147 NHL games back in the 70s. Mickelson's 74-75 season with the Capitals was definitely rough. To be fair, that was the worst team in NHL history. It was Washington's first year in the league as an expansion team. They won 8 games, went through 3 different head coaches. If you thought the 1920 Red Wings were bad, they had nothing on this Capitals team. With that all being said though, I still feel like I had to include this season by Bill Mickelson in the video because he set an NHL record in that season, and not a good one. Now I know not everybody is a fan of plus minus, and it definitely is a flawed stat, but in that 74-75 season, Bill Mickelson was a -82 in just 59 games. I'm not sure if anyone's ever going to break that record. Funny enough, Andreas Athanasiou was actually a -45 in the 46 games he played with the Red Wings this past season, so maybe if we played a full 82 game season and Athanasiou was never traded and he played every game for the Red Wings, he could have had a chance at breaking it, but I guess we'll never know. Getting back to Bill Mickelson though, he had some pretty bad luck throughout his NHL career. That Washington Capitals team actually wasn't the only historically bad team that he played on. Before playing for the 74-75 Capitals, he was a part of the 72-73 New York Islanders team, a team that won a whopping 12 games throughout the regular season. In that year, Bill Mickelson finished with a -53, not quite as bad as his -82, but still pretty bad. Those two seasons, the 72-73 Islanders and the 74-75 Capitals, were actually the only 2 full seasons Bill Mickelson spent in the NHL. The majority of his career, he was an American Hockey League player. You can sort of summarize Bill Mickelson's NHL career by saying he played on a couple of really bad teams, and other teams scored a lot of goals while he was on the ice. Moving along now, next up we have Craig Adams and his 2009-10 season with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now Craig Adams was never known to be a goal scorer at all or anything close to it. He only scored a total of 55 goals in his 951 game NHL career, but in that 2009-10 season with the Penguins, Craig Adams was probably the furthest thing from a goal scorer you will ever find. He played all 82 games and finished the season with 10 points, all of those points being assists. He had 0 goals. Diving into that a little bit deeper, on average he played over 11 minutes per night. You know, that's a good amount of ice time. He took 85 shots on net that season, so over a shot per game, but none of those found the back of the net. Not a single one. Once again, Craig Adams was not known as a goal scorer at all, but it's just crazy to think that he played in every single game that season, you know, took over a shot per game, and he just wasn't able to get one. He was the type of player who went to those hard-nosed areas, you know, battled in the corner, battled for positioning out front, so it's kind of surprising that a shot just didn't hit in off his skate or hit in off his leg or something throughout that season. One thing that I found absolutely hilarious, so again, 0 goals in 82 games in the 2009-10 season, but in the 2010 playoffs, in 13 games, he was able to score 2 goals. I guess Adams was just saving them for when they mattered most, right? All things considered though, and all jokes aside, Craig Adams had a solid career and did a lot of good things. If he didn't do good things, he wouldn't have lasted 951 games in the National Hockey League. He was a real solid defensive forward, had some Selke Trophy votes once, laid a lot of hits, was a real good leader. Again, did a lot of good things. It's just goal scoring wasn't one of those good things that he did. Now, I'm sure a lot of you might be thinking, why is he in this video if his role was not to provide offense and to score goals? It was to do all of the little things, and while yeah, that's true, I wanted this video to be entertaining, and I wanted to include seasons where players put up numbers that are just sort of hard to believe, and I feel like his 2009-10 season was exactly that. Next up we have Ryan Hollweg and his 2006-7 season with the New York Rangers. Now he might be best remembered for being involved in one of the biggest suspensions in NHL history, not because he was the player that got suspended, but because he was on the receiving end of a 2-hand slash to the face from Chris Simon, which resulted in Simon getting a 25-game suspension. Just thought I would add that in there so maybe some of you are like, okay, I remember that guy now. But in his 06-07 season with the Rangers, in 78 games, Ryan Hollweg put up a whopping 1 goal and 2 assists for 3 points, had 131 penalty minutes, and was a -11. This is another one like Craig Adams, where you might be thinking, okay, well, his role wasn't to score goals, but heading into the NHL, Ryan Hollweg was seen as a tough guy who could put the puck in the net. He scored a lot of goals in junior, but that goal scoring touch from junior never translated to professional hockey to begin with, not just the NHL. From 2012 to 2018, he played in the Czech League, and he did not score a lot over there either. Following the 06-07 season, Ryan Hollweg would play the next full season with the Rangers as well, and in 70 games he had 2 goals, so a little bit better than his 1 goal from the year prior, but that was pretty much it for his NHL career. He had a short stint in Toronto, then spent a couple seasons in the American Hockey League, played some games for the Coyotes, and then, like I said, went and played in the Czech League from 2012 to 2018. Moving along now, the next player we have is goaltender Ken McAuley, no relation to popular referee Wes McCauley, and his 1943-44 season with the New York Rangers. Ken McAuley only ever played 2 seasons in the National Hockey League, both coming with the New York Rangers, and pretty much the only reason for that is because the Rangers were experiencing a shortage of players due to the World War II draft. Ken McAuley himself actually served a year in the military. After that year that he served, he was then signed by the Rangers, and like I said, played 2 seasons. He had a total record of 17, 64, and 15, so not too great at all. The worst of the 2 seasons though definitely being his first one. He had a 639-5 record and put up a 6.24 goals against average, which is an NHL record for the highest goals against average put up by a goaltender in a single season. That right there is a record that I'm almost certain will never be broken. You look at the type of season that Jimmy Howard just had, we already talked about him in this video. His goals against average was only like a 4 something. So Ken McAuley has been in the NHL record books for decades upon decades now, and I think it's going to stay that way. Similar to what I said when talking about Bill Mickelson, I apologize for the lack of photos and stuff to look at in the background while I'm talking about Ken McAuley. There isn't a lot out there of a guy who only played 2 NHL seasons back when World War II was still going on. And now the final player we're going to talk about in this video, we have Toby Reader and his 2018-19 season with the Edmonton Oilers. So another recent example here. This is one that still kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit when I think back to it. So he played 67 games with the Oilers in the 2018-19 season and had 0 goals, had 11 assists in those 67 games. But of course the big talking point was his 0 goals. And it's not like Toby Reader was somebody who never scored. His first 3 seasons in the NHL, he scored a good bit. He had 13 as a rookie, 14 the following season, and then 16 the season after that. I mean, this is a guy who once scored 2 shorthanded goals in the same game in under a minute, and he wasn't able to score 1 goal through 67 games in one entire season. That's pretty crazy. It wasn't for a lack of trying either. In those 67 games, he averaged close to 12.5 minutes of ice time per night, fired 92 shots on net throughout that season, so well over a shot per game. He just couldn't find the back of the net. Now, after that season was over, Oilers general manager at the time, Peter Chiarelli, kind of made waves by sort of blaming Toby Reader for the Oilers not making the playoffs. He said if he scored more goals, maybe the Oilers would have been in the playoffs, which is pretty ridiculous. Even if Reader scored 15 or 20 goals that season, the Oilers wouldn't have made the playoffs. That was sort of just Peter Chiarelli trying to find somebody to blame, and a guy who just had 0 goals in 67 games was obviously a pretty easy target. But that is going to wrap up today's video. Those were some of the worst seasons by an individual player in NHL history, results-wise. This video wasn't made to rip on these players or anything like that. When I got the idea to maybe make a video like this and started doing some research, these were just some of the seasons that I found where the results the player produced were just kind of mind-boggling. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all in the next video.